I was going to go ahead and introduce it, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, sorry.
Okay, all right. Okay.
What are you doing?
Sorry, I'm trying to get myself ready. I should have wrote this down.
Any day now.
Okay. Since the dawn of man, there has been one question that plagues every person at some point in their life. Who am I?
When have we ever started the podcast?
Hold on.
Leave all of this in.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. Okay. Today we're gonna explore that, and throughout space and time, we'll talk about it.
What is happening?
You're listening to Zachary Birdsong and
Amber Long.
So grab a cup.
Yeah, because this is the A to Z podcast, which he failed to mention.
That was next. So grab a cup of something deep and relax, because you're listening to the A to Z podcast.
What the This is not the order of the... Okay, 2026. We're just making up stuff and not consulting our co-hosts at all. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Today we're talking about identity.
But identity. How do you want to start?
Well, we left off on we have a Patreon snippet about your perfect day in 5 years.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the conversation led to talking about your wiring and your nature and how much that plays a role in your identity. So, I don't know. Do you want to talk about that?
We can. It just sounded like you had questions for me about it.
Yeah, I do have questions for you.
Okay.
So, okay.
You may ask. So,
we're kind of jumping right in, and then we can backtrack some.
Yeah.
We can to lay the groundwork. Okay.
Yes.
So, how much I feel like there's a discussion about how much of who you are is your genetics wired into you versus your circumstances, versus what you choose. You're consciously making a decision to be like this.
Could I bring up the split then?
Sure.
I think that goes along with it.
Yes.
So Amber and I kind of talked about this yesterday, and I think, we ended up, there were 5 kind of categories that we thought identity could be split into. There's the spiritual identity, which is like, what is my role in existence, right? And your answer to that could be nothing, or that I have no role. That's still like a kind of spiritual type of belief. And then there's value identity. What do you live by? What are your values? What are your principles, right?
Your ethics.
Yeah, your ethics as well.
I'm just throwing that in there for synonyms in case one resonates with you or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And then actionable identity, like what do you do, right? Biological identity, which is like what is inherently kind of a part of you, your just traits, your genes, how they inform, and then your social identity. How do you express yourself within the world, basically? And so you kind of named off like 3 of those when you were giving.
Sort of. This is, those were very broad that I said.
Yes, right.
But so in the Patreon episode, we were kind of talking about, we were talking about how part of Zach's perfect day doesn't include necessarily what he wants to do with his life.
Word.
It includes rest from what
that.
he wants to do in his life.
Yes.
And the reason he thinks for that is because what he wants to do with his life does not coincide with his nature.
Yes.
His wiring.
Yes.
And so I'd like to hear more about that.
Because the day itself is relaxation with some possible kids, my wife, and during like the day, you know, maybe we're doing something, we're spending time together in whatever way that means for us, right? Mm-hmm. And then later that evening, we may have people over and we're having a gathering of some kind, and just hanging out with, you know, friends and family. And I think it's because, well, yeah, to your point, that the context around that as part of my perfect day was that I was achieving the goals professionally and being successful in the ways that I want to in that regard, but that it wasn't necessarily part of my day, but that's part of the context of my life, revolving around my day, and so you're asking why it's not a part of the day itself, and I think it's because those things that I'm wanting to do or that I envision for myself require some level of what I would perceive as like, or I can expect some level of conflict, because a lot of it has to do with maybe the exchanging of ideas or thoughts. And so there are going to be people, of course, that disagree, right? And so whatever it means that I may be doing at that time, whether it's, you know, speaking to people or making a post about it or whatever, there are going to be people who are going against it, right? And so my perfect day is one that more aligns with what my disposition generally is, which is one of kind of just peace, you know, relaxation. And so that's why the professionalism part is not involved in the perfect day. And so I guess what you're trying to kind of get at too is, well, why is that part of your ideal professionalism if it kind of goes against the nature? And the honest kind of or answer to that is I don't really know. I don't really know. It just I just know that when I think about I want to have, I would like to have some kind of positive impact, and on you know, as grand of a scale as I can, and you can't really do that without inviting conflict.
Why does it have to be grand?
Great question. I don't know. I think part of it is because I place a lot of value on that. Maybe I'll feel more valuable the more people I'm able to positively affect. And I think that might honestly just be something that I just could try to overcome. It just depends. It doesn't seem like an unhealthy thought currently because it's not.
Relatively, you can be shy. You can be very shy.
Oh yes, yeah.
So.
And I can beat myself up about it sometimes too. Because of knowing where I want to be and kind of the person that I would like to be, there is a lot of dissonance there with my current identity versus my, you know, future desired kind of identity.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. So we recently took a personality test that was actually, I got that test from Atomic Habits.
Oh, cool.
Because when he was talking about did you get to the part where he was talking about the big five?
Yes.
Yeah. So he he said that you can go take this test that's on their website for Atomic Habits. So that's where I got that test from.
Gotcha.
And the big five personality assessment measures your level of extroversion, your level of conscientiousness, which is like, I would describe that as like social regard. Well,
and it's kind of about how organized and disciplined you are too.
Yeah, yes. And then some people say neuroticism, but I like the way that this test said it. It said emotional stability. I like that better. Like how much do your emotions fluctuate given the situation? Because neuroticism is kind of like abstract. Like, who knows what that means? And then what's the next one? Agreeableness.
Yes.
And then what was the last one? I'm missing one. Openness.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Which factors in like curiosity, how open are you to new experiences and new ideas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we both kind of, me more than you, introvert.
Oh, yeah. Well, and if you look, that's
I
why
was very low.
That's why I liked that it split it up into the subcategories, because there was like a I forgot which subcategory it was, but it was the one that dealt with being around people specifically, kind of. And that one was kind of high for me, which makes sense, right? But mine was still more on the introversion side, but I had more extroversion when it came to being around others.
Yeah.
It was something like that. It may have been more specific, but that's why I liked it, because I was like, oh, okay, you're not just seeing like this one scale of introversion and extroversion. You're seeing it for like these subcategories there as well that kind of get more nitpicky about what it is it's talking about within that category.
Yeah, my conscientiousness was low. I think it was lower than I anticipated, and I think it's because I'm pretty low on trust.
Oh,
socially.
yeah.
Like, I don't trust people.
That'll do
very
it.
much. But the other parts of it were higher.
I think
I think my organization, maybe, like, I had answered it in this way I answered it based off of my current mindset, not what I would normally do. I've been purposefully less organized than yeah. I want to organize more and have the ability and will and want to do that. But sometimes I think it makes me more emotionally reactive, because if something's out of its state or somebody puts it out of its state, I'm trying to get to the point where that doesn't bother me.
So why did you answer though off of your mindset instead of what you actually do?
I don't know. Because I'm actively practicing not being overly concerned with how things are set up. And so
you were in that transition phase and you're like, this is where I'm going. So
yes.
Okay.
So I answered it in terms of what I'm allowing versus what I would normally want to do.
So it would have probably been higher had you.
It would have been higher. Yeah. But I think there's a reason why I brought that up, because one of them I feel like has to do with like, the agreeableness. You're very high on that.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're very high on that. And I think that probably is interesting that you want a profession where you can disagree with people, where you are disagreeing with people.
Yeah. Well, because I don't know.
Even though social harmony is kind of very, I would say you like it.
Social harmony?
Yes.
I love it.
But I would also say that if there's a time where the group has an opportunity to be against someone, you will be against them with the group.
Hold on.
Because you will see it valid. You will.
I was about to say, I'm not just hopping on a train.
No. But you, in those situations, you won't give and you tend to be somebody who can give people the benefit of the doubt. Well, but in certain situations, you don't as much.
I really wish I could be more specific about this, because
I'm thinking of two examples.
Yes, and if I had the opportunity to go into specifics and explain, then
3. I can think of 3.
Okay, keep counting, Ever.
Okay.
You'll come to 4. I think what I would say is that I don't know if you can give benefit of the doubt. Okay. No, I'm having trouble speaking about this in a way that isn't going to be indicative of anything or any person. Okay. I don't even know if it's possible. All I'm going to say is, I guess, is that I don't think there was any benefit of the doubt to give. I think there were things that were being observed that were seen as negative and disliked, and those things were voiced. And so the idea was what has been experienced from this person was not liked, right? And so, I mean, if something changes that in the future, then it changes it, right? New experiences will do that. It's not like this hard, like, lock and key. It's not like the chest was opened and then the opinion was formed. It was placed in the chest. It was closed. It was locked, and then you're done with it. And you threw the key in like the Chicago lake or whatever, right? So I don't agree. I don't agree with how you're characterizing me here.
Here's a better way to characterize it. And this is the difference between you and I. If I got an issue with somebody, I have an issue with them whether anybody else has an issue with them or not. If I have an issue with them and someone else has an issue with them, I may not necessarily be like, let's talk about our issues with Bob. Bob sucks. And then like other people will come in and we're all like, yeah, Bob's the worst. I'll be like, yeah, Bob sucks. We don't need to talk about it, though. Sometimes I'll want to talk about Bob,
yes,
and sometimes I won't.
You've talked about Bob.
There are times where I may talk about Bob.
We have talked about Bob.
But that's you and me. I'm not, like, joining a group, though, and being like, let's all talk about Bob.
It's a Bob meeting.
But like you're more inclined to be like, let's talk. Like you'll be like, well, what'd you guys say about Bob?
No,
because yes,
no,
about Bob.
This is a mischaracterization. I don't like what you're doing.
I'm just messing with you.
I'm not. This is what's happening. I'm interested in what other people's opinions are, and after hearing and you know what, for someone who does like social harmony, I will agree with you that it is interesting that I like to hear these things, and I think it's because there's social harmony in the agreement of the dislike of.
You will join harmony even if it's against someone else because you are in harmony still with the group.
Yes.
Versus like if one person, let's say I came to you and I was like, Bob did this, Bob did that, Bob pissed me off.
I'll be skeptical.
Yes, you will take. It'll take a second for and you will give Bob the benefit of the doubt. You were like, well, maybe Bob meant this, or maybe this is really what was behind it. You know, you need a group to validate your stance a little bit.
Hold on. Jeez. Let's take a step back here, all right? This is just coming out of the woodwork. I wasn't prepared for this. You didn't put this in like the summary of topics.
It wasn't. I'm just talking about it now. It wasn't like a pre-planned confrontation.
Listen.
And I'm also saying this is very lighthearted.
I know. I'm having fun here. The examples that you're thinking about, okay, I have different relationships with these people, and so I don't experience, and I'm not around when maybe you talk about these things to me. I wasn't around for what you experienced, right? So I'm going based off of what you've told me, and I have my own opinions already formed, and I may not have experienced similar things, right? And so I'm thinking, well, maybe this or maybe that. But in some of these other situations where you're talking about I'm getting on the gravy train, okay, I have not only seen it, I've also experienced my own things, right? So no, it's different.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But I do think you're right about I will be like, oh, this is like, we're against something, but we're all against it. And there's harmony in that.
Yes.
But I don't think there's anything wrong. I think that comes into a difference too, where you just don't like talking bad about people. Really?
Unless it's like I'm venting because this person actively did something and I'm like just trying to be like,
you're upset.
But I'm not really like let's get our pitchforks off.
But here's the thing too. It's not, to me, it's not about the pitchforks.
I don't like ganging up on people.
It's hold on.
No, I was clarifying what I was saying.
Okay. It's not about like it's not about the pitchfork. and the fire for me. It's more about
We're all together.
well, no, it's about the town square discussion. I like I like hearing people's thoughts about people. It's interesting to me to see because it gives me a little bit of insight into that person as well, right? And so if they're people that I like or care about, it interests me to see like how their inner mind perceives relationships and how it works and stuff. And I find it even more interesting I can find it more interesting when it's negative because it may not happen often.
Sure.
Right.
I mean,
It's a new kind of thing.
Negativity is attractive.
It can be, yeah.
Especially I find that really positive people are very attracted to negativity in some cases. They don't want to feel negative. They want to be positive. But if the negativity makes them feel positive, they'll go toward it.
You pointed at me at the end.
No. I'm just doing things with my hands.
Okay. Hand things.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think that's true because I'm generally a positive person, but I can say that I find it's not that it makes me it like buzzes with my intellectual curiosity, right? Like that's what it does. And as someone who doesn't feel negativity a lot, I can find it fascinating to hear others talk about it, right? Because I can say things too, but I'm not feeling very strongly about them, right? Like I can have like formed opinions of a person or be like I experienced this with them, and like I didn't really like that, and maybe in the moment if we're in the town center, so we're all just kind of like there's a lot of hoopla going around, so I might be like and they did this to me, but I'm not really feeling like that strongly about it.
Yeah.
You're just playing into the atmosphere a little bit. So
it's that type 9.
Yes, it is.
I genuinely think that.
I agree with that too. But I'm high in agreeableness. I had like 3% conscientiousness. I was so low in conscientiousness.
Low.
It was and I was like, yeah. I mean, there's not really much to say about that. I'm a disorganized fellow, and proud.
Yeah.
And proud.
Well, that's fine.
But that's one of the things I'd like to also improve on too, though, is that. And I think what was the last one was openness, and I was pretty high on that, and I think you were too.
Yeah, we were I think about the same, like within a percentage point in terms of openness, and I think that's the intellectual bit. Because a lot of the questions that I think contributed to that were like, how much do you like talking about philosophical ideas and like versus being a super practical person.
Right. And
I would say we can be practical, but we can also be very like idealistic about things.
Oh yeah.
So that made sense to me. Yeah.
I feel like we only talked about 4.
The emotional stability part.
Yeah.
You're very emotionally stable.
Yes.
You were very high on that.
Yes.
Which is why I don't think that neuroticism, maybe I just don't understand it in terms of a term, because I think it's like, are you susceptible to stress?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was about to say
like
it's neuroticism. Like the more neurotic you are, I think is like the more prone to anxiousness.
Yeah, and you can
stuff
get
that
pretty
you can be
anxious. So that's why I'm like, I don't know that is. I like the emotional stability better because for the most part, you are a very emotionally stable person.
Yeah,
and I am.
I think the way, like, if you imagined it as like just like a line,
yeah,
right. I think that you'll have, like, there might be like a 5-minute period or maybe even like a 10-minute period, like throughout the day where like that line is like buzzing for me. The neuroticism is up, or the emotional stability is kind of, going out of whack.
Yeah.
But it is easy for it to center out again.
Yeah.
Right?
You get over things pretty quickly.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's why it was high.
Yeah. I'm a very moody person. I'm very sensitive to just things in the environment. I tried to start...
Even to your point about being organized, right? And if things are out of place.
Yeah, that sometimes it can like throw off my mood, or affect how I see myself. It's getting better. I do have some more stability there. I started taking saffron, the supplement, and I also started taking this like cortisol manager. So I don't know which one's doing it, or maybe it's a combination of the two. But it's a lot easier for me to regulate. But the saffron did say it's supposed to help with mood stability. So I feel like it is happening, and I've been trying to write down, like before I was doing it, but it was kind of haphazard, or just like on certain days I'd be like, I'm really sad. Let me write down that I'm sad and see if I can track it. Because the thing that we don't give enough credit to, I think, for women is that you have hormones that are cycling on a 28-day cycle, and that's going to affect your mood. Like, it's just going to. And anybody who tries to villainize that is, I think, sexist. Like, you might be misogynist. You don't like... Because that's just... You can't control that. You cannot control it.
Look into science, people.
Yeah. It's okay. Calm down. Anyway. So I've been trying to track... And I started journaling recently. So I've been trying to, like, keep a kind of log of my mood and have an assessment of, like, what are the things that are bringing me up or down, because I want to understand them. I think that's a part of the openness, is that I'm curious about my own emotions and trying to see if there's ways where, because we were talking about this in the car ride here, that emotions can just come from stimuli. You don't necessarily know why you're feeling that way. And I was listening to Gabor Mate. He was on Mel Robbins' podcast, and I just listened to Scattered Minds, his book that's about ADHD. And in the interview, he was talking about his book. I can't remember what it is now, but it's a book that's focused on, like, trauma and how trauma affects the body and what is trauma and what is it not. Because the event is not the trauma. How the reaction it produces in your body is the trauma. That's what he said. And so, but he was like, a big part of it is, like, accepting whatever happens to you. Like, that's not your fault. It's not your fault. And becoming curious about why you're reacting to things. Because then from there on out, you're going to have this reaction and you may not even recognize the root, thing of it. So getting curious about, why am I acting like this? But not in the sense of, like, why am I acting like this? Like, what the heck is wrong with me?
And inquisitive.
Yeah, but
why
in the
am I
sense
acting
of,
like
like,
this?
well, what is producing this response in me? Why is this my reaction to this? And so I'm really interested to understand that better. Because I was having in terms of identity and self-feelings, a big part of who I am, unfortunately. I've relied a lot on comparison to help.
Yeah.
And my therapist she calls it the comparison model. And I'll be like, well, what's the alternative? What are the other models? Let me pick which one I want instead. But I rely a lot on comparison, and I think I always have, just to understand. I think that's part of, like, being a kid with, like, a neurodivergent kid, is that sometimes you can just be completely unaware. But I wasn't unaware all the time. Sometimes I was in my own little world. But other times I was like, am I normal? And so I constantly was assessing myself against other people to be like, is this normal? And I hate that about me, because sometimes that means you play to the level of your competition.
Right.
In things.
I'm not saying, just your environment, too,
Yeah, and you're not really ever maximizing your own potential or figuring out where your own thresholds are. And that can include sometimes you're going above and beyond when you don't need, when, like, you don't even realize how much energy you're putting in to try to seem normal or try to excel even above what's necessary, such that you're now taking away energy that can be given towards other things. And I did that a lot. Stress myself out like crazy. I think that's a big part of my instability emotionally, is asking way too much from myself because I was comparing myself to other people.
So I got a question about, because it was interesting that you said, like, one of the reasons you started journaling recently was because of the why, right? And one of the thoughts I kind of had recently was that one of the reasons that I've been kind of that line is getting zigzaggy again is because I've been asking why too much.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing.
And so I was like, I need to kind of take a step back, and instead of being like, why am I feeling this way, and just kind of like circling that so much, I just need to, for a second, and you're better at this than I am, so
maybe.
Like, well, I mean, in terms of like letting yourself feel it and kind of just acknowledging what it is, right? You may not know why, but you are better at letting yourself feel emotions and just saying like, okay, this is what's going on right now, and I'm going to behave in the manner in which I feel. I'm not going to fight against it, right? Whereas I tend to do that, and because I'm thinking about like why, and like it's something I need to fix, right?
Yeah, I don't feel. More so now. I'm getting better at it, and I have been getting better at it. But yeah, I can sit with my emotions a little bit more than I don't feel the need to do anything about how I feel.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And so I think that for me at least, that's why it was interesting that you said you need to dig more into the why, because I think that first, before I start trying to do that more, I need to feel more okay with just letting myself feel it first, and then I can start digging into the why a little bit more.
I definitely don't always understand when I'm feeling something until later. So that's why where the why comes in is that like it's more like a what sometimes. What is this?
Yeah. Yes.
I have no
I think that's
idea what this is. That's why you're that same wheel that I have an emotions wheel that my therapist gave me because she was like, you need to figure it out. Because I have like, I don't always recognize. I'm like, it's like if there was this purple cloud in the air and I'm like, what is that? Huh? And I'm just like looking at it and I have no idea, but it's affecting me. And that used to happen a lot. And so like I've made a practice of being like, this is sadness. That's what I say in my head. I'm like, this is anger. This is frustration.
Indignation.
This is indignation.
It's a great word. I really like that word.
And so like I think sometimes just sitting there, like the first step of that of trying to reach homeostasis emotionally is to be like, I have to know, and I'm very big on this. For any problem that you have in life, you have to know what it is before you can even do anything about it. And so many people are just like, well, I don't know. Did you try throwing it out the window? It's an egg. Like, don't do that.
Right.
So I think that that's an important thing. Is to like that's where the curiosity about what it is, and I think that's important in general for getting to know yourself. Is that when you're trying to understand who you are, observing the different things, because like a big thing, I journaled about this the other day because we're doing a 75 plush challenge at work, which is like a take on the 75 hard, but it's softer than soft.
Yes.
So it's plush.
It's super easy.
And one of the feelings that's coming up for me from it is we have a 30-minute physical activity component. And I've already decided like this year for my body, my emphasis is on figuring out my nutritional needs and stretching, and I just want to focus on the fundamentals, because I'm like, if I never do a rigorous workout ever again, I want to figure out the lifestyle that's going to maintain my health. And that includes like, what can I eat? What can I not eat? From a tolerance perspective, and what makes me feel good. And then also like my back is very tight and from stress, and also from sitting too much. And so I want to figure those things out. And one of the things that I've noticed is like perfectionism, which is a big part, which used to be a really big part of my personality. That I want to get rid of and replace with the healthier version of that, which is multiple different things, is that sometimes I'll daydream about doing intense workouts. and I will daydream. And I've done intense workouts. I've worked out really, really hard over the course of my life. And I will daydream about having this like very specific physique. And the 30-minute challenge, whatever part of it, is triggering me a little bit in terms of, because we're doing it as a group. Naturally, another part of my personality is competition.
Right.
And I am proud of myself for even doing it with everybody. Because this is normally the type of thing I'd be like, nah, I'm good. Sit this one out.
Tough to even put your foot in to try.
Yeah. Because I'm afraid of the competitive nature and I don't want to be a jerk. Because sometimes that can happen when I'm in a competitive mood. I can either be a jerk to other people or I can be a jerk to myself. And that's one of those things I'm trying to manage is sticking to my own goal instead of feeling like I have to perform and outperform the other people that are a part of this challenge.
Right.
I like that it's plush because then you can tell yourself, no one cares. But we have some people...
And they really don't. And the only thing this is intended to do is to really just try to help people get a little fire under their bums, you know?
Yeah. And that it is nice and like to get you to think about like, am I actually eating one healthy meal a day? I should probably do something not involving a screen for at least 15 minutes of my day. Something that doesn't involve technology and build a skill or something or a practice. And but it is like a challenge to a part of me that is dying off. And I was thinking about it yesterday when I was walking my dog and I was like, man, it's so to be in a place where your identity is changing, so you have to find new motivation that doesn't stem from your need to be excellent all the time, to prove to yourself that you are worthy and valuable of good things, of love, of attention, of all these different things. That doesn't die easy. It's hard to reassure yourself and like to reassure yourself and tell yourself like you're not going to fade into obscurity.
Well, I mean, just from what you've told me about your experience with college too, like that was all like primed for just productivity.
Yes. And I was, performed very well at I would say like my peak of any metric that you can hit. Like I hit, and that's the problem I think about. At that time, I was thinking about my life in terms of metrics. I wasn't thinking about my life in terms of like, are you happy? Do you like yourself? I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
Right. I can run a mile in 8 minutes. Happiness? Psh.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's weird to change and to choose the change, but then to be presented with your old triggers and be like, just see them and kind of have to walk away from them. It's weird, but it's okay.
Well, that's where I think it comes in when we're talking about identity too, in terms of this ironically kind of goes, identity and change, they're very intertwined, right? And the last episode we did was about change, but I mean, that's what we're kind of talking about here now, is you're talking about a transition, that you're going through, and how difficult that can be, but it does end up forming a new kind of identity or way that you perceive yourself, right?
Yeah.
And for the better too, hopefully, right? I guess you'll find that out at the end. You seem to think that it's been helping so far, I assume, right? That's why you've continued down, because you think you like where you're going with it, right?
Yeah, I would say, well, more than anything, I think a big part of who I am, and I wanted to share this because this was brought up in Atomic Habits, and I'm paraphrasing, but it says personality is a set of characteristics that are consistent across situations. And probably one of the most consistent things about me is that if there is a right way, I want to do it the right way. But if you tell me this is the way it has to be done, if I see other possibilities, I'm going to challenge you. Because some things are just black and white to me, and I'm very comfortable with black and white thinking. I know a lot of people are not, and I know that they warn against it. But there are just some things in my mind that are... I can start with black and white, and then I've now started to take subjects that I've normally thought about as black and white and build in a color spectrum for them. And I can be very spectrum-y about some things and very black and white about other things. But part of the reason why I've been embracing this possibility that by changing it'll be good for me in the long run is because there's lots of philosophy, lots of religious texts, and lots of science to back that up, that perfectionism is bad for you. And even my grandma, which I think I've mentioned it before, I was talking to her one time, and I was going through it during this period of time, and my grandma said, "Are you a perfectionist?" And I said, "Yes," and she said, "That's not good." My grandmother is one of the wisest people that I know. So it was like, okay, I've got to do something about this. But then what's hard to watch is like people who still subscribe to that, and to watch other people excel in areas where you normally would have been like the star pupil, so to speak.
But do they seem happy? And maybe they do. Sometimes people do seem happy, but you never, I mean,
they do
people
seem
can
happy.
be good at hiding it. That's not to say that you should think that just because someone is being more perfectionist and they're getting things done that they're secretly sad or anything like that.
Yeah, they may be very happy.
Yeah,
and it really comes down to like that may work for them, but is it working for you?
I was about to say that might go back some to like the the biological genetic component. Maybe they're just more primed to just...
Some people are just better than others. That sounds really messed up to say.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I don't mean it that
way to say it.
But some people are just... There's a level of pressure
that they can handle.
That makes it to where they can excel in so many situations. My dad is one of those people. My dad at one point, was number 2 in the world in his age bracket for his belt in jiu-jitsu. This was like within the last 2 years. This is a man who played college football, who worked in corporate America for however many years, 30 years, whatever, and was a high performer in that space. My dad is just like somebody who can excel like really and across the board. And feeling like you have to like take that on, because that's his identity doesn't mean that that's mine. And wanting to live up to that has always been a part of something of what I wanted to take on as who I am. I'm not like that, guys. I'm not like that. I can't pressure. I can't. I can't.
I get that. I kind of need some level of external pressure just to kind of do things because of my low conscientiousness. But too much, and it's just that's when the conflict arises. And I'm for peace.
I think the pressure for me is more in a sense of like you don't have a lot of time. The pressure of time is the only thing that actually produces a good positive outcome for me.
Which is why when procrastination happens and it's the last minute.
Yeah, I can lock in.
Yeah.
But more so now that I'm older, I don't love it that as much. And I'm like, take your time. Because here's the thing. Half the time when I was doing things at the last minute and working under the time pressure, I kept thinking, if I have more time, I could have really fleshed this idea out and this idea. And it still did well, right? But it wasn't, if I'm thinking about what makes me me, and I'm a very open person, and I'm somebody who likes intellectual challenges, I like to explore, I like to uncover ideas. This could have been more of what I wanted if I had given myself more time and took the time that I had.
I agree with that. I found that to be the case because I'll procrastinate too. And on papers, when I was getting my master's degree, I would wait until like the I would wait until like the last night, to do it, and I would turn it in, and I would end up getting an A on it. But there was always like that thought of like, man, because then it also kind of feels. This isn't like a brag, but it feels easy too, right? Because you're waiting to the last minute. I mean, you feel rushed, but then you end up getting an A, and it's like, oh, okay, that's all that I needed to do. But I would think like, wow, I didn't feel like I did near as good of a job as I could have done, and I think that what that shows is like with the openness category, that maybe we just have that predisposition to be good at, just thinking about concepts and preparing material and getting it ready. And maybe it is a bit of, we don't need to be a perfectionist with it. So, but maybe it is a bit of a disservice for us to not fully think things through when we have that ability to do so well and produce something that can really, expand itself. Right?
I do think it's a disservice because we got the grade and we passed and we learned, but I mean, we didn't really, how much did we grow? Mm-hmm. Could we have grown more in this situation? Could we have?
Right. We weren't challenged because we didn't let ourselves be challenged.
And or if we were challenged, the challenge was in the performance, meeting the expectation of the person on the other side of that paper. And not in our own sense of like, man, I've now really unlocked this other thing, this deeper love, because I understand this further. And I think that's where, when you're shifting, I think shifting out of the identity of like performer into doer, liver, experiencer is, what do I want? Not what do I have to do to get from point A to point B, but like, what do I want to leave this earth knowing,
right,
and having experience?
Yeah, and on that paper level, like, not what is the bare minimum to get an A, but what is the bare minimum for my standards that I want to be able to, put out.
Yeah, and develop my skill of sense, like I can make this difficult argument. I can, So I do think that that's like it's a little bit outside of the scope of identity, but not really. It's part of your...
No, yeah, it's part of the 5. It's the biological identity component there.
What's the one that's like the skill-based?
The skill-based, I think that would be like that might be the actionable identity.
Yeah,
like, what do I do? And I kind of wanted to talk about those 5 too, in terms of how each one informs the other. Like, if they were to be like a hierarchy, where would the first one, like, how would those follow? And I think biological is first, because that just sets the stage for your, who you are as an individual, just in a general sense, right?
What do you think biologically you are, that you know about yourself, that you're primed to do?
Well, recently I've felt like that with drawing, that I have I have a good grasp on being able to, if I'm looking at something and that I can visually take that and make the proportions right. I have the patience, because that's just something that you need to sit down and repeatedly erase and because some of the things I've done recently, I'd have to sit there for like 2 hours and erase things and think I'm done with something, and then I'm doing another part on the other side of whatever it is that I'm drawing, and I'm like, oh wait, this is out of proportion with this, but I like this, what I just did here, better, so I have to go back and erase the other one to make it match up with what I just did, right? Yeah. And so I feel like I kind of have some predispositions at being well at just the kind of act of drawing, at least from like the start. And then I think kind of what we were talking about with like the paper stuff as well, that in terms of just being able to take an abstract concept or thought and kind of systemize it or formulate like ideas from it, and kind of getting at the nuances within it, that I feel that I have a kind of good ability to just innately do that as well. I know you'd probably agree with that for yourself, but what are some other things that come to mind for you?
Yeah, I do agree with that for myself. I'm not a bad drawer. I just thought about that. Like, I used to draw more when I was a kid. And I feel pretty like, but I don't have the patience. That's my problem.
Right.
I'll start rushing towards the end because I'm bored now. And I'm probably not going to come back to this. So I need to finish it like right now.
Right. And that was another thing too, is when I was trying to draw, I think, I was drawing a rabbit, and I was getting frustrated with like the feet. And so I just stopped for that day. And the next day, I came back to it afterwards. And I realized, too, that that's something that you don't need to, if you get frustrated with something, just stop. If it's something you can come back to later, you can come back to it later. You don't need to try to, because then you're building kind of an unhealthy relationship with that thing and yourself, right?
Yeah. Patience is something I'm actively working on. It's not my nature. I think I'm pretty athletic. I don't have the athletic mind in terms of, the awareness of like, if someone else is over here, then I need to do this, and this needs to be whatever. But I'm pretty understanding of how to get my body to do certain things and produce like the outcome that I want from it in terms of like movement. So, and I have like I'm pretty mentally, like, I can do multiple reps of things. Like, I don't tire easily in that way. So, and then I'm more like, if it's got to get done, it's got to get done. So just lock in, and you don't have to enjoy, like, I think that's a physical thing, is you don't have to enjoy everything you're doing. But that doesn't mean it's not good for you or necessary to do. So my brain, I can turn things on and off in my brain. I can turn off compassion, unfortunately. I can turn off like my own sense of like, this is hurting me. I can turn off joy. I can whatever switch I need to flip, I can do that. And I'm trying to do that less because I don't think that's very healthy. But it is a survival thing. That if ever I were in a terrible situation, I think I could endure it because I can just turn off.
Say it's time.
Yeah, and hit that switch. Yeah, I think those are my main like biological, and I'm very in tune with my body. Like, it's to the point where I'm like, I don't need to know that, but my body is very expressive about things going on, and I pay attention a lot to little things, and whether or not I'm even trying. Like, if somebody gets a haircut, I'll know. If something in my environment has changed, like somebody moved this over there, I'll know. I just pick up on changes from the norm really quickly. I'm pretty good at like games where you have to like find the whatever.
Yeah, and that's been an interesting thing too for me recently, was just like the feeling your bodily responses, because I'm bad at that. I'm really bad at that. So when you first started talking about that with me and bringing it up and kind of telling me about your experiences, I was like, wow, that's really cool, because it tells you what's going on, right? With emotions, or just if you haven't been eating well, and I mean, really a lot of things that you don't even think about. Or sometimes, like, I know I'll be feeling something, but I just don't even really, I'll be like, oh, my tummy hurts, I don't really think about it too much. But I think that one kind of goes into, I mean, all these other, the four other categories, I would say, are just kind of like socially informed, But I think that out of those four, I would say that maybe the spiritual identity would be next, in terms of, how you come to, who you are on a day-to-day basis, right? Just because that's going to probably inform your value identity, right?
Yeah.
And then which is also going to inform then your social and actionable identity. So it kind of all comes down from biological first. That's just setting the stage, and then your spiritual identity. What do you believe in? Are you Christian? Are you Hindu, Muslim? Like just whatever. And then from that, you're going to get a set of values, and they may be a little bit different depending on your family, your social environment. But they're all going to stem, if you all share that same religion or spirituality, they're all going to stem from that. So you're going to have similar values. And then that's what's going to lead into deciding, who you want to be as a person, your actionable identity, what you want to be doing for others. Are you going out and are you helping people? Do you want to be a preacher or a priest or a doctor or, whatever? And then how is it that you are expressing yourself to others too, just on a day-to-day basis with like the social identity? Who are you kind of just like as a person when you're interacting with others, compassion, stuff like that? Would you agree kind of with that lay down?
Yeah, I would say maybe even the social I would put before the actionable, because sometimes when you're trying to figure out, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to go out and do? You'll factor in the level of interaction you have to have with other people. Mm-hmm. And that can change from activity to activity. So like if I'm working out, I don't want to interact with anybody. I love learning in a social environment. That's my favorite time to be around people. And the more people, the better. I love being around people when I'm learning. Mm-hmm. So I think that just kind of, that plays a bigger role than we think.
Yeah. And they all funnel into each other a little bit too.
Yeah.
Once you get past the biological one, the others just kind of all inform each other. But that one does have more of an emphasis than the actionable. I would almost slide that social one up after biological.
Really? Because I think what happens to you socially will how connected you are to other people socially really does determine more than you think what your spiritual understanding of yourself is.
See, and I was thinking about that too, because when I'm thinking of the social identity, it's about who you are and how you're expressing yourself. So it's not necessarily about the effects that other people have on you. It's about how just you're expressing yourself.
Like the role
that you're playing, because it's about your identity, right? Mm. So then I think that with that, it would come after the spiritual identity. Mm. Mm. If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense from that
perspective. Yeah. But with what you're saying, I would agree too, because if you're just taking into account like the entirety of like your social experience, then then that is going to be right after biological, and that's going to form all these other ones that we have listed here, right? Yeah.
Is there one part of your identity that you tend to overemphasize?
I don't think so. Actually, at least not for myself, that I've been conscious about, where I'm kind of like taking that one and I'm really focusing on it. I think the one that's been most prevalent in my mind is kind of like a person who's trying to keep the peace, but it's not something that I've been like over identifying with. But it has been one that is difficult to, try to become more confident outside of that. Mm-hmm. Right. What about you?
I think the actionable identity I've overemphasized that.
Oh, you mean from these categories?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, explain yours and then I'll rethink your question.
I think I've just relied on what I do in the world to make it to where I don't have to think, like, I'll let that drive how I relate to people, and I'll let that override like my desire to do whatever it is, which is always changing, will even override what I think I'm naturally good at. Kind of what we were talking about at the start of like, this doesn't coincide with my nature, but I think by maximizing this like picking a really hard thing to do.
Right.
In that way, I'll prove my virtues to people, that I'm hardworking and diligent and Protestant and all of those things. And then, you know, from there, people will want to be around me, even though I'm not the warmest person, you know, and I don't gotta be, because I'm valuable in this way.
Mm-hmm. So between those then, have you generally seen yourself as someone who is capable of doing more and being received well by that?
Yes.
And have you seen that as an offset from things that you may have perceived as like a not necessarily a negative, but just
deficit?
like yes. That's exactly what I was looking for. A
Yes.
deficit with your social identity.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think part of what I'm doing now is going back and starting with like the physical of like, you don't like this. I know you don't, because your body's screaming at you, telling you, I don't like this. So let's figure out what makes it stop screaming and it makes it actually like happy. And then let's go from there. And then also let's, you know, figure out how we want to relate to people, because that actually is more important than you think. And that will actually determine what you want to do with your time. And so it's a lot of reworking all of those things and recognizing like you are not strong in this area. You need to work this out. I think the thing I'm probably least strong in would be the social
one.
part. And shocker.
Well, I laugh because it's interesting. I keep saying a lot of things are interesting today, but it's interesting because I feel like I'm the opposite. Because when I was trying to decide what my overemphasis was, it's social. You might, I think you would agree with that, which is probably why you were surprised that I didn't say that when you initially asked. But I would say I overemphasize the social identity, and I'm just too concerned about how I'm being perceived by others, which goes into the performance bit and all of that. And ironically, it's I think the actionable identity that I don't have enough of, because the lack of conscientiousness in the organization kind of leads to there's a lack of discipline there. So I can be at times, it can be very hard for me to start being actionable with something, and to a point in which I feel comfortable identifying with that thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, because none of these are inherently a bad thing, right? Because like, if you really rely on the social part, but you're not very disciplined, then you're probably more in line to align yourself with disciplined people who then can help you, like, can tell you what to do. Or you're just fulfilling one part of a system that's highly organized.
Right.
Maybe that's, why maybe you like the government or something. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's why some people like the government, because some people like to just be the cog.
Yeah.
They don't want
right.
to come up with the machine.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to play their part and they want to go home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like none of it's bad.
No, it's just different. It's all about just because it comes back to the biological stuff too. It's just like what feels right with you, because that's really going to be it's going to help determine what's making you happy or not, right?
Yeah. I tend to find like when I like to be social, I like to have an activity to do, and so like that's one way that makes socializing easier for me. Which is why, like, I could make friends in school, and I had great in-school friends. I just wasn't that great making friends outside of school or outside of church or whatever, because I didn't know how to interact with them without a structured thing to do.
Yes, and I'm the exact same way. It's why just, like, something as simple as, like, playing a card game or something, because it just invites conversation and interaction, right, in a way that doesn't feel pressured for you to have to say, certain things, or, you're thinking about being cautious, and then maybe some conversational topics come up where you can further discuss them as you're playing, but it feels a bit more natural.
Yeah. Yep. I think even like if I'm working out with somebody, sometimes I prefer to work out with people who have my same mindset about working out, because then it takes the competitive element out of it, actually, for me.
Oh.
And it makes me feel like I'm truly with a companion.
Mm-hmm. Maybe part of it, too, is because you feel like if you were to work out with somebody who sees it as a bit more nonchalant, that if they were to outperform you, then you'd be like, what the heck, man?
That is 1,000% what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I get so angry. Irrationally angry. It is a problem.
The look on your face gave it all away.
It is a problem.
This is visceral within you.
But it gets under my skin like nothing else.
That's so funny.
And God forbid they give me a correction. You think I don't know? You think it wasn't a choice that I did this way?
Something tells me maybe that's happened before.
Never. It's all hypothetical. Yeah. No, it's a problem. It's the pride, but yeah. That's why I just rather work out with people who I know have a similar relationship, like maybe they did sports or something, to where I'm like, we're both just here to stay in shape, right? Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
We're not here to perform. We're not here to learn. We're not here to dub. We're just here. Okay? Yeah, cool. So I'm working through it. I journaled about it because I was... And I'm not
it's been on the mind.
Yeah. Anyway, hit it.
I'd actually like to know
there.
later. Yeah, you can tell me later.
It's fine.
But yeah, so I think you had a good question there, which is that other people should consider too, out of these 5 categories, and I'll say them again. So there's the spiritual identity, value identity, actionable identity, biological identity, and social identity. Which ones do you feel like that, of course, outside the biological identity, since that's just what's informing everything else that you can't necessarily change. What do you think, you listeners out there, what do you think that you are overemphasizing through those, and what do you think you could probably try to start paying a little bit more attention to, right? I think that's a good question for them.
I think it's a great question, and I think there's no right or wrong answer, and don't feel like, I think the biggest part of identity is there's like 8 billion of us. You can be whoever you want to be. You can be however you want to be. So I think with everybody, especially in this time where you're coming out of grind culture, and then you're into don't dream of labor, and then you're into that girl, such and such core identity. Like there's so many things telling you how you have to be. And it's a new freaking thing, if not every year, every 6 months. How to be a high value woman or man. Like,
and it's almost always just, you may have a group talking about it, but it may just be like one person on a YouTube channel saying this is how you should be to be the ideal, man or woman or this or that.
And then everybody starts making a video about it because it's trending. Remember, those are businesses. They're selling you ideas. They are making money off of that. So don't take that to heart. That's like somebody trying to tell you that you need to, buy a shake weight. You don't. You don't have to do that. So I think just remember that you have agency. With whoever you decide to be. You are your own person.
Be cognizant of your own likes and dislikes, and really think a little bit about these identities and not how you want others to perceive you, but what's important to you, how you want to perceive yourself.
Yeah. And read more books.
Yeah, seriously,
I think books are really helpful for understanding self.
Yeah, any kind.
The construction of the self.
Any other last words for him?
No. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Also, Happy New Year.
And also, thank you as always to all our listeners. Miss Angel, I didn't mention you in our gratitude, thank you. And I just want to put that out there. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast.
Thank you, Miss Angel.
Yes.
Thank you, Miss Angel.
That's it.
All right. Thanks again, everybody, for listening to another episode of the A to Z podcast. We appreciate it. As always, like, subscribe, comment,
Share.
share. Tell us about, go ahead and comment too from these, 5 categories, just which one you've had issues with or have been overemphasizing. Tell us a little bit about it. Give us your experiences. And thanks again for listening. Farewell, everybody.
Farewell.